Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really cracking open the playbook for technical leadership. We're focusing on the experience of Adam Bender, who's a principal software engineer at Google. And our mission, really, is to get a handle on that huge shift. It's not just a step up, is it? The change in skills and accountability when you go from senior engineer, say L5, up to staff engineer, L6, and even beyond at a place like Google.
Yeah, and it's helpful to know where Bender is coming from. He's a principal engineer leading web infrastructure for Google's internal enterprise apps. So think shared UI components, coaching on front-end architecture, that kind of thing. But get this, 20% of his time, he's the tech lead for Google's general engineering practices documentation. So he's literally helping craft policy that guides, well, tens of thousands of engineers. That's the scale we're talking about.
Wow, okay. So right away, that tells you this role is defined by influence, not just lines of code. We often think career growth is just, doing more of the same, but better. But it sounds like the jump from L5 senior to L6 staff is, well, something else entirely. Why is that specific step so tricky?
It's tricky because, like Bender says, L6 is fundamentally a change in job ladder. Think about the path from, say, L3 up to L5. Your success. It's largely about you, your output, your efficiency, how well you solve clearly defined problems, writing good code. You're judged on technical execution. But L6, accountability totally shifts. It shifts to business strategy. Success isn't just how you build the thing anymore. It's judged by which problems you choose to solve and how you frame them in the first place. You own the technical direction for a big area, and if you pick the wrong problem or the wrong strategy, well, that's on you.
Okay. That makes sense as something he mentioned that gets cited in staff promotion discussions. The ability to reduce chaos from the system. That phrase itself, moving from writing features to reducing chaos, feels really significant.
It absolutely is. Reducing chaos means you're actively tackling complexity, you're paying down technical debt at a really deep level. The solutions you bring have to simplify things overall, not just fix the immediate issue. And that just demands a different set of muscles. Writing code actually matters less than, say, clear communication, strategic thinking. Staff engineers are basically paid to figure out these super open-ended problems where the solution is, as he put it, not at all clear.
So if they're not just head-down coding all day, what does the staff engineer's calendar look like? Where are they spending their time if they're focused on these big, strategic, maybe fuzzy problems?
Right. Bender confirms it's, well, a lot of meetings, a lot of writing documents, thinking strategically, mentoring other engineers. And since he works on internal infrastructure, those projects are often engineering-driven, meaning the strategy, the roadmap. It often starts with the staff engineer themselves, the actual coding. That's usually delegated. But the real, core impact, what he calls their superpower, is having cross-organizational sight. The role is kind of perfectly positioned, high enough up to see across different teams, spot those bigger patterns, but still close enough to the tech to understand how to connect the dots between systems. That's how you avoid massive duplicated effort and really speed things up across the company.
That ability to connect things across silos. Yeah, that must be where the massive leverage comes in. He gave a really great example of this, didn't he, about building a new system for deploying web apps quickly. The goal was this new deployment system, but they only had bits and pieces like command line tools scattered across different internal teams. They needed a proper web interface. But instead of just spinning up a new team to build a UI from scratch,
Exactly. He found this reusable low-code web app that another unit, the global business unit, had already built. So his strategic work wasn't building new code, it was connecting that existing UI to all the underlying services. Services run by, ads, SREs, core web infra people, totally different orgs. He integrated them. The end result was this assembly of the best stuff from around the company without reinventing the wheel. And he really stressed this wasn't just luck. It took a huge amount of time building relationships, getting these different, often siloed teams to actually talk to each other, agree on APIs, coordinate. At that level, honestly, managing relationships is a core part of the technical work.
which leads us right back to that saying, what got you here won't get you there. Right. If the job becomes much more about coordination, strategy, relationships, what are those non-technical skills that become absolutely essential at the staff plus level?
Yeah, he laid out 4 core skills that really redefine success, and they're all about handling these big multi-year efforts. First is systems thinking. which is taking the long view, thinking like 5+ years out. You have to anticipate how today's choices impact things way down the line, like huge application migrations. Second, and this one might feel a bit strange for engineers, is comfort with conflict.
Okay, hold on. Comfort with conflict. Why is that so critical? Because, often senior engineers, L5s, they excel because they're great problem solvers who avoid friction, they find efficient paths. Where does that break down?
It breaks down because big, important projects always create conflict. There are always trade-offs. You're pushing for change across teams, asking people to rewrite their systems, maybe telling them their pet project isn't the priority for the whole company. Someone's always going to be unhappy. So the engineer who avoids conflict, who needs everyone to like the decision, they're just not going to be able to push through something like a 5-year migration plan. You absolutely have to develop, the courage to not let that discomfort stop progress. His third skill was understanding values and culture. Since you can't be in every meeting, making every call for all the teams you influence, you need to cultivate team-level values, a shared culture that basically scales your technical philosophy. That way you don't become the bottleneck. And finally, number 4, becoming a project management geek. You kind of have to embrace the complexity of coordinating lots of moving parts over a long time.
Systems thinking, handling conflict, shaping culture, managing complexity. It really does sound like being a full-time advocate. And Bender pretty much confirms that, right?
Yeah.
Saying he sees himself advocating for better front-end development, running leadership classes, leading those engineering excellence stocks.
Absolutely. And it's not just talk. This advocacy leads to real change. He shared a specific win, pushing for changes in the official engineering job ladders to explicitly include code health as a key skill for Staff Plus roles. I mean, think about that impact. He helped change the promotion criteria for potentially tens of thousands of engineers at Google. That's systemic change, way beyond just one technical project.
Okay, let's shift to the mechanics a bit. How do you actually prove you're doing this kind of work? We hear about needing a staff project. Bender clarified that, right? You need to show you can operate at that staff level sustainably, usually for about a year. And a staff level problem. It means setting the technical direction for several small teams, maybe 3 or 4, or one large team of like 15+ revos, and the impact needs to stretch out at least a year. It's about lasting influence.
Yeah, his own project involved 2 big parts of a customer support voice system: the softphone app itself and the configuration data layer behind it. And crucially, to handle the scope, he had to delegate the tech lead role for the softphone and eventually the config system too. He was basically operating as the TL of TLs, the tech lead of the tech leads. But his advice, looking back, is really valuable. Try to find synergy between your projects if you're taking on multiple things. He said tackling 2 totally different, unrelated systems like he initially did, it just caused painful context switching and made everything way harder. So look for overlap, keep the context tighter if you can.
That sounds like a very practical, hard-won lesson. Okay, so beyond the project and the new skills, what personal factors did he point to that helped him make that tough transition? He mentioned being around other talented engineers, getting good mentorship, which makes sense. But he also really emphasized learning to manage the personal discomfort of that growth. Things like delegating critical work, accepting way more accountability, and just basic self-care. For him, that's mountain biking and therapy.
Totally. But the one thing he identified as the single biggest force multiplier for scaling your impact: communication, investing in being a clear, compelling writer and speaker. He says that skill just exponentially boosts the impact of everything else you do. Whether you're, writing a design doc that convinces people, making the case for funding to leadership, or just trying to lift team morale, communication is how you get big, complex, multi-team things done.
That feels like the perfect thread tying it all together. So the core takeaway for you listening is probably this. The staff engineer role isn't just a promotion. It's a fundamental pivot. It's moving from pure technical mastery towards strategic influence, towards coordination across teams, towards building systems of people and culture, not just code. It's leadership through influence, more than formal authority.
Right. And if scaling that influence really boils down to communication, Bender's advice is pretty direct. Start practicing now. Start a blog, teach a class, practice connecting with people and sharing your vision, even if it feels awkward or uncomfortable. If making a bigger impact means connecting effectively with dozens of teams, well, what's maybe one tangible thing you could try this week to amplify your own voice and vision, recognizing that, sometimes growth requires leaning into that vulnerability a bit.
That's a challenging thought and a really relevant one to end on. Thanks so much for helping us walk through the strategy behind that Staff Plus career path.
My pleasure. It was interesting stuff.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.